Hi, I'm Kevin Michalowski. I'm here at the 2017 USCCA Concealed Carry Expo, and I'm with my good friend George Harris. George, great to see you again. Thank you for
great
coming.
to be here. Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure.
George, you're one of the finest firearms trainers I know. That's why you're here. So
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about people coming through and the raw basics. What are the things that people need to know to make sure that they're safe with their firearms? That's what we want to tell people, safety first.
Okay. Kevin, the first thing I start off with is muzzle management and trigger finger discipline. There are two things. Anybody can remember these two things. And the muzzle management and trigger finger discipline will give you both safety and success. And we define safety as going home with the same amount of bullet holes you left home with.
I like that.
You know, it's pretty simple, not hard to understand.
Yep.
Success, the objective of shooting is hitting. So if we hit the target, we've met the objective, life is good, and that's what we look for. So with the muzzle management end of things, and it's really easy, again, anytime you're not on the target and intending to shoot the target, you need to control the muzzle in a safe direction. And we define a safe direction as any direction in which, should the gun discharge, minimal property damage and no personal injury would occur.
Yep.
Minimal property damage, no personal injury. So that means you go home with the same amount of holes you left home with.
Seems very easy.
It's not rocket science. Anybody, even the novice, even the person that really doesn't want to get heavily into guns, if they can just remember muzzle management, trigger finger discipline, if they were to find a gun on the street or their neighbor's house or whatever, uncontrolled, they would know how to handle it. So from the safety standpoint, trigger finger discipline just simply means keep your finger off the trigger until you're on the target and you're ready to shoot it. No modern firearm will just go bang by itself. People will tell you that different, but we could load you name it, put it right here on the desk, and come back next year, and it's fine.
I would venture to guess that there's a firearm really close to me right now that's just not doing anything.
I would venture to guess that there's probably a couple of firearms close to both of us right now that minding their own business, and off we go.
And as long as there's not a finger on the trigger,
there we go.
The bullets stay where they belong.
Exactly. The idea with the trigger is it's a gas pedal of the gun.
Right.
And most people understand automobiles, so if you mash the gas on the automobile, you can expect something to happen. If you manipulate, mash, move the trigger, you can expect something to happen. If you don't, nothing's going to happen.
Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And the analogy works right too. If you just stomp the gas pedal all the way to the floor, you're going to lose a little bit of control on that
Most
vehicle.
likely if you've got any power in that vehicle at all.
So if you just stomp the trigger all the way to the rear.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. We talked about safety, muzzle management, and trigger finger discipline. Let's talk about success.
Absolutely.
All right, success, the objective of shooting is hitting. All right, so the simple thing to do is to point the muzzle at the target. Only place the bullet comes out of the gun's the muzzle, right?
Right.
Okay, all right. So if the muzzle's pointing at the target when the bullet comes out, what's the likelihood of hitting the target?
Almost 100%.
Yeah, it's better than even odds.
Yep.
Okay, all right. So we point the gun at the target. Now, the only other thing that we've got to do is to be able to operate the trigger without adding motion to the gun.
Right.
All right? So that's where the analogy with the gas pedal comes in. And the way I like to analogize it to most people is if you were at a stop sign and the local constabulary, your police officer, were to your right or left at the same stop sign, when he motioned you to move on, would you just stomp it and burn the tires off of it all the way across the intersection, or would you kind of apply a smooth, fluid motion to the gas pedal and go on your way without any interruption in your progress by the nice police officer?
Right, the smooth, fluid motion is
Smooth,
always
fluid
going to
motion.
give you a better result.
Exactly, and the same thing happens with your trigger when you're operating for hitting the target. Smooth, fluid motion with the trigger.
So you've been involved in firearms training now 40-some years?
Professionally since 1972.
Nice. So what do you say to people who, my dad taught me how to shoot. I don't need any more training. What do you say to those people?
I suggest that maybe there's more than one way to skin a cat, and while I'm very comfortable that they know how to shoot and they're very good at what they do, that there's always a few tips that I can help them with to help elevate their skill level. And once I have them listening, then they can take all the stuff that they once knew and throw it in the trash can, unless it's valid. Sometimes it's some pretty good stuff. But, it's kind of hard to argue with point muzzle at target and operate trigger without moving muzzle.
Well, I've shot with you several times, and every time I've walked away from the range, shooting better than when I started. And just very simple tips. You yell at me to look at the sights and things like that. So.
Well, we just need to keep that stuff up. We study, and I've studied biomechanics, the psychology of shooting, both emotional and cognitively. We've studied human vision, which is an area that I think we really excel in. And there's always a little bit of something that you can give somebody that either reinforces what they already do, or is just totally new and helps them to redirect, their efforts. So got to have an open mind.
Yeah, and if we're talking to or about a new shooter, and again, to or about a brand new shooter, how can we get people to overcome that fear, that flinch? I know that there's some recoil inoculation and stress inoculation that we can do. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'll go back to the base of the whole thing. We knew people jerked the trigger. We knew people flinched and heeled and moved involuntarily. And we really didn't have an idea as to why they did that. And the conventional training is like, don't jerk the trigger.
Yeah.
Okay, we got that. We know that. Right. So why am I jerking the trigger?
You're doing it wrong.
Right. Yeah. So that kind of stuff just kind of irritated me because it wasn't successful in curing the problem. So I started to take a look at, okay, so what's going on here? And I worked with a number of behavioral psychiatrists, psychologists, vision professionals, and all kinds of folks that would validate my thinking as far as what was really going on. And my thinking was this: anytime we hear a loud noise unexpectedly, if a gun were to go off right behind us right now, whether it were a blank or whatever, it would get our attention. We would yes. In milliseconds, we would tension our muscles, lower our center of gravity. We would close our eyes momentarily to protect our vision from any immediate impact. Then we would orient our body to wherever that action came from, right, the sound of the threat. And then we'd make a decision as to what we were going to do. We do this autonomically or automatically. In the brainstem, we've got two little guys called the amygdala, and they're the crisis control center. And the bottom line is when we touch a hot surface, we don't have to think, that's hot. I'm frying my finger. Yeah, right, exactly. We immediately respond. And when we hear a loud noise, we're preconditioned that anything that we perceive as dangerous, we respond in a particular way. So, when we're shooting a firearm, we generally are told your feet need to be more than shoulders width apart, all this stuff, and we build you from top to bottom, and we cloud the cognitive mind with so much information that when the gun goes off, that sound takes place. There's no room for it to be processed down into the subconscious. So the subconscious says, hey, loud noise, danger. We close eyes, clench muscles, lower center of gravity, move muzzle off target.
Get ready to do something other than keep that round on target.
Right. So we have a problem. So what we do with that is we eliminate as much as we possibly can of input to the brain, and using the appropriate safety measures, we will have a person just shoot into an empty backstop, eyes closed. Remember, we're eliminating everything that we
all the input.
Right, and all they're going to be concerned with is the sound of the gun and the push of the gun in the hand.
Yep.
And notice I said push of the gun in the hand. That's part of the process as well. not kick, recoil, or their offensive terms. Push is the
Push
deal.
is something smooth and gentle.
It's acceptable. You know, I can push you and it's okay. If I come up and I hit you, you're going to hit me back.
Yeah.
All right. So the deal is to let the person listen to what the gun sounds like. And there's certain verbalizations that go along with it, like, you know, listen to the pop of the gun, you know, that are subliminal suggestions that this isn't really offensive at all.
Yeah.
So the student accepts that as no big deal, and now when they hear that noise, it doesn't trigger the response of the amygdala, and it goes away.
Sounds like you can make shooting comfortable, and once we make it comfortable, then we're going to lose that flinch and that recoil and that fear factor.
We do it all the time. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing with new shooters what we're able to do. The other part of that is movement in the visual field. And we're programmed to protect their vision because that's our only means of finding safety.
Yep.
So when a person closes their eyes, they haven't gotten over the fact that that gun is moving in the visual field. And I've seen shooters that have been shooting for 30 or 40 years. Every time they pull the trigger, they'll close their eyes.
Yeah.
And
you see that something's moving out there. They're perceiving a threat, and your lizard brain in the back says we need to do something about that.
So the way we get you through that is we get to the backstop again, the safe area, and under supervision, we'll have the shooter hold the gun up like they're going to normally shoot it, get their head out of the way, and watch the muzzle lift and settle back to the original location. And again, the words that we use are important. You know, I mean, the common word for the movement of the gun is called kick.
Yeah.
Most everybody uses that. Do you know anybody that likes to be kicked?
No, not at all.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I tell you this gun's not going to kick much, I've already pre-programmed you into you're about to be hurt. You don't know how bad it's going to be or how long it's going to last, but you're going to be hurt.
Right.
Okay, so where's your focus and concentration?
Yeah, you're thinking about what the gun's going to do to you, not what you're going to do to the gun.
Right,
to make it,
precisely.
Put it on target.
Exactly. So we'll watch the muzzle lift a little bit like this. We'll watch the muzzle lift a little bit like that, and then we'll put the gun right in front of them and have them look at the back of the slide or the back of the frame, not the sights, the back of the gun. Okay, shoot the gun a couple of times. And what that does is it allows the eyes and the brain to see what the reality of the movement is and the fact that the gun doesn't come back and affect vision or facial features or anything else. And we're all good.
Super.
I mean, you get over all that. So the key to testing what you're doing is to be able to see what happens at the muzzle at the moment the gun discharges.
And then your brain knows it's not going to cause you any problem and your head.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, George. I really appreciate you taking time to be with us today.
My pleasure.
We'll see you on stage and give them more presentations.
All right, sounds good. Look forward to it.
I'm Kevin Michalowski at the 2017 USCCA Concealed Carry Expo.